Recently, I've been chatting a lot with men who are really struggling in their relationships. Some of these guys are going through some intense and emotional portals with their partner. Some of them are undergoing IVF, trying to get pregnant, dealing with the intensity of that. Some of them are struggling in their work and their career, dealing with layoffs, slow seasons, with not being where they thought they'd be. And honestly, that last one I connect with really deeply. I know the waves it can create when you've been planning for and working toward success. And for today's episode, I just want to drop in with maybe the most important reminder for you, if this is something you're dealing with too. A season in your relationship where the fights feel extra tough, where your skin isn't feeling quite as thick, where you're just not feeling like things are working out the way that you'd hoped. Maybe you feel like you're questioning if you're even the man you promised her you'd be. So if that's you, then please stay with me. This is Reclaiming the Gentle Man. I'm Dave Leshansky. So more and more, guys are being given an image of what the ideal man looks like, acts like, what the ideal man really is. And we are starting to more and more compare ourselves to that. The mythical, stoic, balanced, probably ripped, always calm leader. The one who doesn't get flustered. The man who has depth but guards it from most people, except the ones who are closest to him. And these days we're being confronted with how we stack up to that man. That imagined version of a man that makes most of us feel pretty small or weak or pathetic in comparison to. And I want to share a story of how this myth has played out in my own life, and then offer you a way to unravel this inner critic in your own world. So a few months ago, I was invited to a party to celebrate a dear friend. It was at another man's house, and when I got there, I was blown away. Like, this house was stunning. It was tucked away on a wooded hill. It was architecturally just beautiful. It had these huge windows. It had a porch that wrapped all the way around it, overlooking the city. It had these thriving plants and trees all around. His wife was there. His kids were there. They were this ideal image of a family, like a truly thriving and connected family in my eyes. This man carried himself with so much grace and kindness. Like, he welcomed his guests like a king, letting people enter his kingdom. He had this amazingly upright posture and this build, and he just seemed impeccable. My thoughts were literally, this guy is the archetype of success. He's got it all, and he holds it so lightly. It blew me away. But also, alongside those thoughts, I had this other one trickling in, and it made me feel really small. His children seemed to adore him. His wife was beautiful, and their connection seemed really deep. Their house was covered with artifacts from their travels all over the world. And I am kind of ashamed to admit this, but I think it's important to name the thoughts that buzzed through me when I encountered all this at first. I think it's important to talk about what my inner critic was saying to me. Things like, I'll never be this put together. I'll never have that power that he seems to carry. And I think a lot of guys go through this in life. And I'm naming it here because it's important. And it's a symptom of our modern world, where we get these tiny glimpses into people's lives through social media and YouTube, all of these polished and curated avenues for us to express ourselves. And we make grand assumptions that often just serve to hurt our sense of who we are and how we stack up and how we compare to other people. And the reason I'm telling this story in this episode is because when things start to go awry in our relationship, when we're navigating that tough season I was talking about in the intro, the days, weeks, or months when you're just not doing great, when the fights feel like they're cutting way deeper, where you're more reactive, where you have less kindness, less thoughtful and present energy than you'd like to have, when you're not the partner you'd like to be. And in those moments, it's really easy to use the critic, the image of that perfect relationship or that ideal archetypal man, as proof that you're not good enough, that you're broken, that you're bad, that you're weak, or just that you're worse. And this is the thing that I need you to hear if you ever catch yourself reeling from an argument or a mistake that you made. If you're in a tough season with that kind of mentality, I need you to hear this. The man you are is not defined solely by how you act when your back is up against the wall, when you're flooded, when you're out of gas, when you don't have the resources to respond in a way you'd be proud of. There's this romantic idea that a lot of men like to believe in, that that's the guy you are, right? Who you are when your back's up against the wall, how you act, that's who you really are. But I think that, honestly, romantic mentality causes a lot more damage than good. And it's important to talk about this because it's something you can hone. That is not a fixed state, how you respond when you're struggling. And it's also not all of who you are. And in fact, I believe it is less important than this. And I want you to let this sink in. I think the man you are has so much more to do with how you come back when you've failed, how you repair when you've broken something or hurt someone. The man you are is defined far less by your capacity to always hold it together and have it together, and so much more by how you take accountability when you've realized that you couldn't do it the way you wanted to, that you messed up. It's about how you hold those parts of you in the aftermath and how you make right with the people who you've impacted. That man, the one who reconciles himself, the man who regains his composure after fully feeling through and accepting and realigning with what he values and cares most about. That's the one I believe we need to start to think more about. Because there's magic in doing that. Because cultivating that version of you allows you to respond better the next time your back's up against the wall. It gives you more access to you, your presence, how you want to respond in the first place. It gets you closer to your best self more often, so that in times when previously you wouldn't have had the ability to stay composed, previously you would have gotten flooded, you can stay grounded. Maybe it's when she's upset. Maybe it's just seeing the things that are getting in your way that you couldn't before. And I think this is really the true lesson here. And I think for a lot of guys, this is the real lesson in relationships. It's becoming the steward of your inner world so that you can rise to levels you didn't think you were capable of before. And I think the thing that most of us miss is that we all have our own unique pathway to get there. These days especially, I think we tend to look around and compare ourselves, like I was doing at that man's house. It's really easy to come up with stories and start to imagine that we are less than when it comes to integrity or manliness. But the whole point of Reclaiming the Gentle Man is uncovering your own unique brilliance, your own unique masculinity through reclaiming a love for yourself that transcends comparison. This work is about becoming the version of you that only you can be, right? And that might sound trite, but the truth is that comparison will never show you the best version of you. And the sad thing is that more often than inspiring you to new heights, I think, and this is usually unconscious, often unconscious, that comparison can rob you of your ability to find the greatness in yourself, the gifts that are uniquely composed of you from your history and your integrity. And I think often when we hear people like me, right, coaches, people focused on relationships, we often talk about this ideal action to take in a relationship, right? The right words to say, the right posture to hold, the right energy to come in with. But I want you to know, every single one of us coaches makes bad mistakes in relationships too. You can't be a good coach on this stuff if you haven't been in the trenches yourself. And in my experience, the mirror your relationship offers will always contain challenges. Having a map for parts of your relationship is always helpful, I find. But it doesn't mean that we don't all sometimes act like little boys in love. We don't always show up as the noble, shining knight that sometimes we might unintentionally be advertising ourselves as, or saying that you need to be. Because when we allow our imperfections, when we allow ourselves to be human, that's when we build the skills and the capacity to show up better, to grow, to be present in our love, to grow into the man that we really want to be. It happens one day at a time. That man that I'd spent all that mental energy comparing myself to, I recently got to know him a lot better. And I learned about his life and his struggles and who he really is. And while I do believe this man is still a king, he's a great man, and he's someone I actually do admire deeply, he also is in his own struggles. Of course he is. He is in his own learnings. He's not this perfectly aligned, always stoic and strong warrior king that my inner critic was projecting onto him. He is, like all of us who are brave enough to do the work, a man in the process of becoming. And the most potent lesson of all of this for me was this, that learning all of the stuff I got to learn about him when I really talked to him, when I met him, only made me respect him more. It wasn't about him being on this pedestal and this thing that I could never aspire to be. It was that he was in the work too. So, instead of aspiring to be the man who has it all together, right? The man who other men compare themselves to, the man who every other man can't help but feel lesser than, maybe we can all start aspiring to be the version of us that is willing to be real and imperfect and unfinished, willing to be honest and vulnerable about how and where we can grow. And maybe we'll not only come closer to that version of ourselves that feels more satisfying and good, more awake to life, more present in life, maybe by doing that, we'll start to inspire more of the same from men around us. This is the world I dream of bringing into being, and I hope you'll come with me. Thank you for listening to this episode of Reclaiming the Gentle Man. If you haven't taken the 3-minute assessment yet, I would love for you to go to your-reconnection-code.lovable.app and take a free 3-minute assessment that will help you uncover some of the blocks happening in your relationship conflicts. if you're in that tough season that I was describing at the beginning of this episode, if you are struggling to get underneath a problem you're having with your partner, this quiz might help you. This assessment might be able to help you transcend and get to that next level in your conflicts. And in so doing, help you get to that next level in your relationship too. Check it out. The link is in the show notes. Let me know what you think. If you're getting something from these episodes, please write to me. I love hearing from you. And if you can leave a review and a rating on whatever platform you're listening on, Apple and Spotify are great. That also really helps the show. I appreciate you. And I hope wherever this finds you, you are having a beautiful day or night. I'll be back in a week.